Hello, Blue Marble Riders. Welcome to another podcast, almost a motorcycle podcast. This is episode 5, and this one is on the best upgrades I've done to my bike. Many of these upgrades are simple, some are cheap, they're cost effective, and they're fairly simple to do. If you have a little bit of knowledge or you're capable of doing a bit of research, these should be well within what you're capable of doing. I mean, this is half the fun of having a bike. We get the bike, it's nearly perfect or really perfect, but as we grow with the bike, we discover things about it we want to change, upgrade for ourselves to improve the experience, to make it nicer to ride, to make it nice to look at, to improve the ergonomics. So here we go. Generally, after I'm dressed and on the bike with my helmet and all my protective gear, the last thing I think about really is safety on the bike. I may think of it externally with other drivers and hazards on the road, but I don't think any more about the bike. That was changed once when a driver just swerved right in front of me after joining the highway. We were both doing about 60 miles an hour. He was accelerating hard. He gave a cursory look, if any look at all, and was straight into my lane. Luckily, I kind of predicted what was going to happen. I could see the paraphernalia the guy was wearing, and among what he was wearing was a hoodie, he had a beanie, and it looked like he had earphones on. I, of course, had my finger on the horn. He didn't hear a thing, nothing. It wasn't until I stopped later on next to a traffic light and I pulled up beside him and I tapped on the window and I said, "Did you see me?" that he was shocked. So what did I do to change that? What was the upgrade I made? Well, a buddy of mine, you may have seen him, Lyle, had a solution for me, and it was to buy much louder horns. Basically, I fitted a pair of horns to, and I say a pair of horns to my Suzuki, which is the bike it happened on, and I've also so far done it to the Z900 RS. I haven't got that far on the Gutsi, although that does have dual horns. They're not as loud as they need to be. So your standard bike horn isn't loud enough, in my opinion, these days to get the attention in a well soundproofed car with the stereo blaring and possibly the phone distraction as well. For me now, it sounds like a logging truck's coming through. So I'll tell you what I did. Essentially, what I bought for the Z900 RS was to look good, to be low profile, but to be loud. I bought 2 dual Hellas. Okay, and I'll cut to those right now, and you can see a picture of them. And I put those on, and just like the next set that I bought for the Suzuki, they will need a relay. And the next set I bought for the Suzuki were highway blasters. And like the Hellas, you get a high tone and a low tone, and you kind of have to install them together. If you just install one, you're kind of defeating the purpose. You get 2 tones to these things. The highway blasters are, as they say, extremely loud. It literally sounds like there's a logging truck coming past if I let rip with the Suzuki. This isn't something you will, am I sure I'm noticing this? This is an upgrade you will notice, and above all, so will the cages. The people in those cars, trucks, vans, whatever, that aren't paying attention to what they should be doing because they're in a nice, cozy, warm cab and they can't get hurt if anything goes wrong. Now you can at least make them lose a little bit of bladder control. A caveat to these is you do need to make sure you add a relay. If you don't add a relay, these draw more current than the standard horns, and that's not a problem for any bike. It is a problem, though, for the switch. The switch on your bike, the button, is designed to take a certain amount of current. You will find that you will not have to need to add a relay to get them to work. And you will ride around and they will work seemingly perfect. And you'll think that Blue Marble Rider doesn't know what he's talking about. But I want you to think of me when one day you press that horn and you have to press it harder than usual, or you have to wiggle it around, and then one day you press it and nothing happens. Not straight away when you needed it. I mean, this is an instantaneous thing that you need, and it has to work. The contacts on the horn switch will get burned away. They'll get overloaded by the amount of current that the horns are drawing, and so you really need a relay for that. It's very easy. They're super cheap. Okay, so that's my first upgrade that you should do. Bit of a boring one, I know, not cosmetically pleasing and not ergonomically pleasing, but it's definitely one that if you want to carry on riding, I would definitely recommend. One of the cheapest ones I've done is a fender extender. And on the Kawasaki, I have a Power Bronze fender extender that is fitted to the Z900RS. They come in matching colors for most of them. It's a black for mine, I think, a gray black. And it comes down and keeps those delicious 4 exhaust pipes so much cleaner. If you've got a Suzuki V-Strom, you'll just wave this one off because you have a fender that's made for a bike. It is amazing. It comes all the way down, standard stock, never any dirt on the front of the bike. So a fender extender, and of course with that goes a hugger. The hugger on the back of the Z900RS was nowhere near long enough. It would liberally scatter stuff from the back wheel, kind of going over it and getting to the spring, the shock, and all of that. With a longer hugger that I've put on now, it's actually improved that too. Another cosmetic one, for me anyway, and it also straddles safety, is the LED indicators I put on both my Moto Guzzi and my Z900RS. I'll put a link up there to a relevant video that will help you with that. You do, again, need a relay for some motorcycles or for some LED indicators, flashes, or turn signals, as you might call them. Some bikes are fine. My Guzzi didn't need one at all. I just could put them straight on and they worked beautifully. And some bikes, you're going to need it, like on the Z900RS, in order to slow the pulse rate down. You want about 60 to 80 cycles a second, I think it is. And if you'll know you need a relay if you put on your LED indicators and they start to flash at a ridiculously fast speed. That means you need a relay, and they're very easy to wire in. In fact, the indicators I got come with an LED relay that's easy to add to it. It's very simple. Probably one of the performance upgrades that you're going to want to do is change your tires. OEM tires are a whole different kettle of fish. Unless you get a top-of-the-line bike, you're probably going to get some pretty junky OEM tires because that's how bike manufacturers, let's face it, get a good deal on it. Even if you've got a Triumph with Road 6s or Road 5s by Michelin, or that's a high-quality tire, the OEM ones will not be quite the same spec as aftermarket ones. With the Z900RS, I honestly got the worst pair of tires with a bike I have ever had the misfortune to ride. The bike's fantastic, but talk about nervous in anything under 20 degrees Celsius. You could feel the tires were struggling to warm up. You could feel that they were inconsistent. They seemed to get harder over time and had less ability to grip the road. This is quite universal for the Z900RS, but it is also quite universal for a lot of bikes out there. So I have upgraded my tires on all my bikes, and I've ended up with Road 6s or Road 5s, depending on the bike that I've got. It made a massive difference to the road handling on all of my bikes, in fact. Smoother, softer, more compliant, much more confidence-inspiring going around corners. In fact, on the Kawasaki, I was almost ready to change my suspension and soften it up a little bit. But the carcass on the Michelin is much more pliable, and suddenly the suspension became sporty but plush. So I'll put a link up there for you to go to that video and check it out. Okay, perhaps one of the most popular ones to do is comfort, the ergos of your bike. For me, I did the handlebars, I did heated grips, I've done a windshield. All of those are great upgrades and not too expensive. The handlebars on the Z900RS were chrome. I wasn't a big fan of those, and they were also sit-up and beg type. At highway speeds, it's a real battle to, one, stay in control of that bike as you get blown around because your upper torso is moving, and two, it's tiring. And rather than put a massive screen on it, which I have seen some people do, and I don't mean the little handlebar fairings you can get, I mean a massive screen, I lowered the bars. I got some LSL low bars, and I'll put the link to the video up there, and you can take a peek at that. They made a big difference in the feel of the front end as well, even before I changed the tires. Heated grips go for themselves. I had them put on the Kawasaki when I bought it, but the upgrade, the best upgrade for me, was getting the Oxfords onto the Suzuki. They are really warm, much better than most of the OEM stock heated grips. They're relatively easy to fit. I'll show you some pictures right now. They've got a panel that comes up. There are some later edition ones, I believe, that look almost integrated like the OEM Kawasaki ones do, without that panel that sits up there. That panel is great, though. It's easy to touch through gloves. It's easy to adjust the amount of temperature you need. And like I said, much, much warmer, even hot, you would have to say, through a pair of gloves in the winter. They're quite amazing. Highly recommended. On my 650 many years ago, I had a V-Strom 650. I got a Madstad windshield, which worked really well. The V-Stroms out of the factory, for me, they've never worked. Whether it's my torso height, whether it's the type of helmet I choose, I don't know. But the windage on them has been the worst of any bike I have ever had. Buffet, double vision, really hard to ride with. And on the 1000, I got a GV Airflow. I'll put the link up there for the GV Airflow. It's adjustable both forwards and backwards and up and down. The forwards and backwards is because the V-Strom is adjustable forwards and backwards with the stock one, which never helps. I don't know what it is about Suzuki, but they just don't wind tunnel their screens enough. Perhaps their aftermarket ones might be better, but I'm always loath to do that. I'd rather go and get one that's specifically tailored to reducing buffet and so on and so forth. This one is adjustable vertically. It's wonderful. It's like being in a bubble of calm. So that is an upgrade that has been fantastic for me. It made the comfort of riding that bike, it just completely transformed it. Quiet, smooth, no buffet. Yeah, just a whole different place to be. One that is not that popular, and I don't mean because it's not a good thing to do, I mean because most people think it's out of their range or ability, is to lower foot pegs. And I've done that on two previous bikes, a DR650, which is a dual sport, and on my Enduro Husaberg. And what I did was I basically took it into a fabricator. It cost me about $100. Cheaper than buying new pegs, by the way. And I had them lowered by a good inch, inch and a half. What a difference they make. You think an inch doesn't count. It does. It makes a massive difference as to whether you feel like a horse jockey being sort of pushed forward over the front of your bike, or you can settle down on it. Riding on the pegs off-road is an absolute must, at least 50% of the time, especially if you're going to challenge yourself and go over some tricky trails. The reason is it gets your center of gravity down. If you're sitting on the seat, your center of gravity is high. Even on a road bike, going over a road repair where they've got gravel down, you should lift your bum off the seat and stand on the pegs. Now, lowering pegs on those bikes has lowered my center of gravity as well. I don't feel that I'm having to reach so far down to the bars. I haven't had to put bar raisers on. They really were fabulous, and they are original just as you see them. I got those done back in 2014. On the Husaberg, and they have never had an issue. Really well welded, really well fabricated. $100 to a local guy, local fabricators. It was very easy. I just did the measurement, told them what I wanted, and they cut the original fitting that fits to the bike and the peg apart, and they inserted a vertical blank of steel and an inch high, so they could literally drop the peg an inch from where it fits to the bike. Made a fantastic difference. The final upgrade I've done, and I've left this one till last because some people won't want to get involved with this, and so I've done it both ways. A lot of bikes come out of the factory now with Euro 5 and 6 on them in order to meet the new emissions guidelines. The consequence of that is, depending on the bike, but nearly all of them run too lean somewhere in the rev range in order that they're not spewing out as much pollution. So there's more air going in, less fuel going in. That is not good for an engine. They will run hot. They will run rough, particularly on warmer days, and they will hesitate when accelerating. Not something that I want often. Now, most bikes, that's tuned out pretty well. But on the Z900RS, it was, one, it ran warm. Two, on warm days, it ran fairly rough. And for a smooth four-cylinder, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous engine, I would find that, into a ride, it would start to, just on idle or on acceleration, it would start to be not quite as smooth as it was. I looked into it and found there was someone called Ivan who will flash your ECU. He does it for a various number of bikes, but the Z900 is a very popular one to get done. And he will flash it according to your needs. So if you want more power, more mid-range, more this, more that, fair enough. Me, I didn't want any more power. The thing is fast enough for me. Great torque as well. I ended up with a little more power because what happens when you do actually fuel a bike properly is you will get more power across, in a gentle way, across the rev range. But what I really wanted was it to run cooler, the fan to come on sooner, which can be programmed into the ECU, and it will run cooler if it's running richer, less lean, and also to be smoother, particularly on the hot days after a long ride when you're going along at 1, 2, or 3,000 RPM, just in and out of traffic. I didn't want to have to rely on the clutch as much as I was. It was definitely out of what I decided the norms were for bikes. The bike ran rougher than it should have. Ivan flashed it, sent it back to me. You've got a lifetime warranty, by the way, if you change the pipes. If you do anything else that needs a reflash, he'll do it for free. And boy, what a difference that was. That's not my only example of a flashing an ECU. Another one is a more involved one where I did it myself with the Moto Guzzi Grezzo, the 1200 SE that I have, 2016. I felt there was a flat spot in the range there. I'm not a fussy person. These are the only two bikes I have flashed. I've had tons of bikes. Both of them I felt needed it. And that one paid $100 to a guy called Beetle. Got the map that I wanted for the Grezzo, downloaded it, wiped the old one off, flashed the new one on. All the software is free to do that with, and it was relatively easy. Again, I'll link to that up here. I go through a whole bunch of videos that show you how to do that. I took off all the emissions first of all. That is one of the videos. So well worth watching if you're interested in doing that, or if you've got a different bike and you want to know what sort of procedure you may have to go to make this cheaper. I think Ivan's flash was about $250-300 US, and this was about $100 US on the Grezzo. Because you do it yourself. You just download the software. It comes almost immediately when you pay Beetle for it. Okay, with that said, they are my favorite upgrades, my best upgrades I think I've done. None of them too expensive, as you can see. I'm not talking whole new exhaust systems, a whole repaint of the bike, new rims, or I've done that, by the way, but that isn't one of my best upgrades. I had to do that for a different reason. See this video up here if it's there, and you'll see why. So those are my best upgrades I've done on my motorcycles, but what about you? Drop a comment below telling us about any upgrades you've done to make your motorcycle more to your taste, whether it's better ergos and comfort, improved performance, sound, more pleasing to your eye, or just plain safer. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. Give it a thumbs up if you like the content. Take care. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Once again, thanks for watching, everyone. If this is the first time you've watched, please consider subscribing. I do motorcycle reviews, motorcycle-related product reviews, off-road and on-road vlogs, as well as tours. Even though I'm not the most diligent poster, don't forget to follow me on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And to like, and especially, I'm begging you here folks, subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell so that you're notified whenever I release a video. This is the Blue Marble Rider, out.